The name's fishy, I know, and I'm here to catch all the Pokemon.
All right, whatever. Okay,
Fine.
so first things first, a couple of you already mentioned this to me. And so I just want to reiterate it. Your exam is Thursday, which means at some point today, if you have not already, you should have received your email from the College Board with your e-ticket to log into the test on Thursday. I know, I think Desiree told me a few minutes ago she already got hers, and then a couple other people chimed in that they got theirs already too. So please make sure that you are checking to see if you get your e-ticket or not. You should get it at some point today. I would say if you don't have your e-ticket by like 5 o'clock today, in your email, you need to reach out to me, okay? In that email is gonna be your AP ID, and there's gonna be a little link in the email that's going to say, go to your exam or join the exam or whatever, something like that. If you click that now, it's going to tell you to come back on Thursday at 1:30. It's going to say that your AP World History exam is scheduled to begin Thursday, May 21st at 2 p.m. Please return at 1:30. But there is a link in that email. So Elias just asked a question in the chat. How do we use that? So Elias, in your email, you're going to get a ticket. And it's going to contain a link that you're going to click on Thursday at 1:30. You're going to click that link, and it's going to take you to the login screen for your exam. It's going to ask you to put in your AP ID, which is in the email. And your AP ID, by the way, is the same for every exam that you take. So those of you who are taking AP Psych later this afternoon, the AP ID is going to be the same for that as for your AP History exam that you'll take on Thursday. Okay, so it's the same 8-digit number. My e-ticket is the same as the one I got for my other AP test. Mika, when you say it's the same, you mean it's the same AP ID, right? But you got an email that says for your AP World History test, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So it is, yes, it is going to be the same AP ID. What's going to be different is when you click the link or tap the link in the email, that link in that yellow box is going to be different, and it's going to take you to a different exam. So again, like those of you who are taking AP Psych this afternoon, you need to make sure you click the link in your AP Psych email, okay, for your AP Psych for your AP Psych exam. All right, next question that just popped up in the chat. Do we have to put our name and AP ID at the top of the page on all of the exams? Yes. Okay, and so if you're doing AP World History on Thursday and you're doing what I recommend, which is typing in a Word document and then copying and pasting it into the box, you should at the top put your initials and your AP ID. If you're copying and pasting, you only have to do it once, okay? But if you're doing the photo method where you're using like your phone camera and you're taking a picture of each page, then you have to write your AP ID and your initials on top of each page. But if you're opting for the copy and paste method, you only have to do it once. Okay, does the AP ID and initials go on top right or top left? I don't think that matters. As long as it's at the top of the page and it's legible and the readers can see it, it's going to be fine. So it really doesn't matter. You can put it whichever corner you prefer. You can put it in the middle of the page if you want. It doesn't matter, okay? Just as long as that identifying information is up there. We had AP Bio earlier this week, yesterday. I haven't heard of any major issues, so it seems like the system is working itself out. Now, if you go to submit your exam, okay, if you go to submit your exam and you get an error message after you press submit and it says your exam has not been submitted, you do have the option. It's going to pop up immediately. They're going to give you the option of emailing in your submission. Okay, it's going to say something like, would you like to email the submission? And so if you run into that problem, you can do that. What you'll do is it will give you like an encrypted email address that you will send an email to, and you will just attach the file to the email. You can't copy and paste into the email, but you can save the file on your computer and then you can attach the file to the email and send it in that way. Now, they're only doing that if your submission does not go through. So that's not an option for everybody, okay? This is only if you run into some kind of a technical issue and you can't get your submission uploaded, okay? So hopefully none of you even have to worry about that, okay? Because I've had no reports of problems from anybody from our school having any trouble with the copy and paste method. Everybody has, told me that everybody that took AP US history last week said it worked fine, that they copied and pasted, they pressed submit, and then within a second or two, they got the message that their exam had been successfully submitted. So I don't think we're going to run into any problems, and I don't anticipate anybody having to do the email submission. Okay, and then of course the worst case scenario is if all else fails and you can't get your exam submitted, you can take the exam again on June 4th if you want to take the makeup exam. Just know that, again, historically speaking, the makeup exam is always significantly harder. Okay, every year when I've looked at the regular exam versus the makeup exam, it has been significantly harder. Okay. The other thing I will say about your exam, what we are finding that they have been doing this year is they've been using the same prompt for a lot of people, but they've been giving people different documents. So like, for example, Jorge and Olivia might have the same prompt, but the 5 documents Jorge gets might not be the same as the 5 documents Olivia gets, which might be different from the 5 documents Alejandro gets, okay? So even if you all get the same prompt, we have noticed that they have been assigning different documents to it. So don't, so again, I can't stress enough, don't think that you're gonna go through this test running through like a group text where you're all gonna help each other through it. Okay, another question came up, 2 more questions came up in the chat. What if you don't put the initials or ID at the top? I have no idea. I would imagine that they'll still be able to grade it, but my guess is it's going to take them longer because they're going to have to go through an additional identification process to find out who you are. So it's possible when you log in on July 15th to check your scores, that if you didn't put your initials or ID at the top, it's going to come up as being delayed, which means you won't be able to see your scores right away because they have to verify that that is in fact your test. So the easiest way to kind of avoid that is just going to be, just make sure that you type your initials and your ID at the top. Karina says, why don't you just open up a Word document right now, put it in there now, and just leave it, and then just jump in there Thursday afternoon. That's a great idea if you think you might possibly forget. Okay, and then the other question came up is, what's the minimum to pass? We have no idea at this point. Okay, the way that the College Board will score them is what will happen. All the exams will be scored over the summer. Okay, and then they will be they will assign what the cut scores are based on how well everybody does. So for example, if everybody does very, very poorly nationwide, if the entire country does very, very poorly, it's possible that you could earn a 3 out of 10 and still pass. But if everybody, has done really well with their writing this year and nationwide, everybody does really well, then maybe you need to get a 7, okay, to pass. So it really depends on what the average score is across the country. And of course, we're talking well over 75,000 people that will be taking this test on Thursday afternoon. So there's nothing that you can do that's going to affect how the other 74,999 students do. So I wouldn't, don't try to say, well, if I do badly and everybody else does badly, it's going to make the curve easier, okay? Because there is no way to control what the other 74,999 people do. The only thing that you can do is write the best essay that you can. Use the strategies that we've talked about. Maybe go for the 2 document strategy to make sure that you're only using 2 of the documents and working towards an 8 out of 10. If you forget how that works, go back and look at the video that I posted from last week when I talked about the 2 document strategy. That's certainly helpful. You know, otherwise, like I would say, just write the very best essay that you can. Okay, there's nothing really that you can do beyond that. Let me see, there was one other question just popped up in the chat. Oh, I turned it in yesterday. Didn't know that at the time. Again, Jorge, I wouldn't worry about it. Your exam will still be. It's just possible that there may be a delay in getting your scores back. Okay, but they have said that the exam will be scored. It just might take them longer to figure out who you are. So you should be okay. So for those of you who in a few hours are taking AP Psych, there's my reminder to you, which is make sure you put your name and your AP ID at the top of the page, or if you're typing, at the top of the first page. Okay, Alejandro just asked, can we use the textbook? And that's actually a perfect segue into the first thing I wanted to talk about today, which is how should we organize our notes to use on this exam Thursday? We all know it's an open book, open notebook exam, open internet exam, okay? We know all of that. And so a lot of you, like, your eyes got very, very big, and a few people said, oh, this is going to be easy, okay? To answer this question the short way, yes, you can use your textbook, but I don't recommend it, and let me explain why. Okay, your textbook was meant for reading. Okay, it was not meant, you know, this book was not meant for you to look up information quickly. This was a book that was meant for reading. Okay, so let's say you're writing an essay tomorrow and you need information about Confucianism. Okay, because you want to use it for contextualization or something, and you're going to go back to your textbook. That means, right, that I'm then opening my textbook. Okay, now I've got to sit here. I've got to look through the table of contents. Okay, I've got to find the table of contents. I've got to find, okay, here it is. Now I've got to find where Confucianism is. Then I say, you know what, this is too much here. Let me flip to the index. So now I go to my index, and I'm looking for Confucianism. And by the way, the entire time that I'm doing this, the timer is still running. Okay, Confucianism, here we go. In my index, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 8 different entries for Confucianism, which means if I'm coming in here to try to find information about Confucianism, I'm gonna have to scroll through 8 different entries in my textbook. One of them is three pages, one is 4 pages, one is 2 pages. That's a lot of information for me to try to scroll through in a very limited amount of time. So I don't recommend that you use the textbook, okay? I don't think it's going to be a very efficient or very effective use of your time. You know, there's going to be nobody there that's going to be stopping you from using the textbook on the exam, but I don't know that it's going to be the most effective use of your time. Okay, it's going to take you too much time. Now, somebody just asked, do you recommend the internet? Again, yes, it's possible, because with the internet you can be a little bit more specific with your search. Just remember that if you're finding things online, there's, you know, it's very hard to verify whether or not it's true. Okay, I could go set up a web page right now, and I could pay a lot of money to make it go to the top of a Google search, and I could, you know, make it very, very difficult. And then, you know, yes, I see a lot of you have just brought this up. We don't know what the College Board is doing. They have said that you are allowed to Google, so you're not going to get in trouble for Googling things. We just don't know, you know, if they're, somebody said they heard College Board changed answers you'd find on the internet, so it wouldn't be accurate. That's certainly possible. The College Board has the money to do that. You know, I don't know if they have. I can't verify that. I mean, it's certainly possible. But I would stick with your notes. Okay, and here is the reality. Your notes are going to help you really with 3 parts of this exam. They could potentially help you with your contextualization. They could help you with your outside evidence, and they could maybe, depending, help you with your with your complexity point, depending on if you're trying to go for that. Although if you watched our last video, you'll know that I told everybody that's a point to not even bother with, given how limited the time is. So you are potentially looking at, if you get the complexity, you're potentially looking at 4 points that your notes could possibly help you with, okay? And so what do I recommend that you do, okay? What do I recommend that you do with your notes? Well, number one, if you have the ability to print, okay, I recommend that you print out those 6 review sheets and you have them ready to go, okay? It might also help you to go through those review sheets and go ahead and highlight you know, some of the important topics that we know are, you know, could possibly come up. So maybe highlight Confucianism. That was a big topic, okay? Highlight stuff about Indian Ocean trade. That was a major topic. Highlight stuff about the Silk Roads, the development of Islam, okay? So start thinking about the class and thinking about the things that we've learned and the things that we've talked about, and start marking off or highlighting or taking those little tabs and marking off, you know, what we think of are those high probability topics, those big topics that could possibly come up, okay? Because the truth is, we don't know what they're going to ask you about, other than the fact that it's something from periods 1 through 6. Now, what I heard about AP US last week is that the topic was very easy, so the prompt was super easy, but the documents were tricky. Okay, and so the reality with that situation is that your notes aren't going to help you with the documents, right? Your notes are not going to help you analyze documents. They're not going to help you write a thesis. Okay, so it's really those 4 possible prompts that are going to help with contextualization, outside evidence, which is 2 points, and maybe 4 points. Okay, that's where your notes are going to help you. And so that's what I would say, you know, that you should have your notes ready to go, okay? It might even be helpful. I watched a video last night from a guy named Heimler, and his recommendation is you think about what those major topics were, okay? And you think about what outside evidence, all right, Karina? You think about what kind of outside evidence you might be able to use from those topics. So what he recommended is you write up cards or some index cards. Maybe at the top of one card you put the Silk Roads, and then you list specific evidence that you might be able to use for the Silk Roads, if you want to use that as outside evidence. And then maybe on another card you put the spread of Buddhism, and you list specific examples that you can use for outside evidence with Buddhism. Okay, so that's certainly something that you could do. So if you're interested in that, you know, that is a recommendation I can make, which is put those broad topics, and don't do too many of them. Pick, you know, maybe no more than 10, and you write each topic across the top of an index card, and then you list what the specific outside evidence for those topics might be. Okay, and I will show you tomorrow during our session, I will show you an example of what that might look like, okay? Also tomorrow, we're going to talk about document usage and finding evidence in a document. You know, we're going to do a little lesson on that tomorrow, because that could potentially account for 4 points right there. If you use the documents properly, you could gain 4 out of the 10 points just from your document usage. So we'll look at that tomorrow, okay? I want to talk now, before I start answering questions, about the 5 biggest mistakes that people make on the DBQ. And this is a list that I compiled from talking to and from speaking with the people that read these tests, which are AP history teachers who read the exams. And they said the #1 mistake that students make is their thesis is too broad. Okay, and so what does that mean? It means that they write a thesis that is not specific enough. So they might say in their thesis, during the era of the Silk Roads, trade changed significantly. Okay, and thinking that that's a good thesis that they're going to argue. It's a good start. It's not enough to earn the point because it's not specific enough. Your thesis needs to tell me specifically, how did trade change? Okay, or saying something like things changed politically. Well, again, how did things change politically? So make sure that your thesis is specific. Okay. The second biggest mistake comes from contextualization. Students have a habit of just dumping as much information as they can and calling it contextualization. So for example, if the prompt gives you a time period of, we'll go with the sample prompt, from 1860 to 1918. Students have just talked about everything that they know that occurred before 1860 and have hoped that that is enough for contextualization. It's not, okay? And so in order to get the contextualization point, what you choose to use, the information that you choose to offer, has to be relevant to the prompt, okay? You can't just use vocab words, and you can't just use examples if it doesn't relate to the prompt. So don't think that you're just going to dump everything that you know that took place before that particular era in hopes that it is enough to get the point, okay? It has to be specific and it has to be related to the prompt. For example, the prompt that we looked at last week was about the construction of the railroads, okay? And so for our contextualization, we used the invention of the steam engine and we used the Industrial Revolution. Those are both specific examples that are relevant to the prompt, okay? And they both occurred before the era of building the railroads. And so those would work. Those would get you those points, okay? Your third mistake that you don't want to make is going to be with your sourcing, okay? And what students tend to say with their sourcing, and I'll be honest, I haven't really seen it from many of you, okay? You guys have done a pretty good job with this, but a lot of students for their sourcing simply like to say, as they're sourcing, oh, the author's biased, okay? That's not going to get you the sourcing point. You can't simply say someone is biased, okay? Because the truth is everybody's biased. All 15 of us that are in this room right now have a bias. If you have an opinion, you have a bias, okay? And so everybody's biased. So simply saying out loud or simply writing on your paper that the author's biased, okay, that's not going to do enough to get you the sourcing point. You have to be able to explain, well, how does that bias affect their point of view or affect what they've said or what they've written? And that is very difficult to do, which is why I have always recommended, and I continue to recommend, that when you do your sourcing, you avoid the word bias at all costs, okay? Don't even say it. Okay, because the truth is it's a weak argument. It's mostly useless because it's true, everybody's biased. It's a generally accepted point that pretty much everybody's biased. So it's not going to get you where you need to be. So I would just avoid that term altogether. And so I would focus on things like the intended audience, okay? I would focus on the purpose. Okay, I would focus on those other areas of sourcing as opposed to simply just dismissing something as being biased, okay? And then the fourth major mistake that people make is they quote, okay? And I'm gonna say right now, when you were doing a regular DBQ, I thought quoting from the source was okay if it was done very, very limited. I know I've had conversations with many of you over the course of the year where I have told you, you're quoting too much. We need to include more of your own voice, okay? And so what I'm going to say to you right now is that in a 45-minute time period, you don't have time to quote at all because you are just wasting time if you're sitting there typing quotations from the documents. Okay, that is just a waste of a precious 45 minutes. So I'm going to tell you right now, unless it's very, very, very short, do not quote from the document. You should paraphrase the documents, absolutely, but there just isn't time for you to waste typing something from the document verbatim. Okay, and you will not be able to copy and paste out of the document. So you can't highlight the part of the document that you want to quote and then paste it. It's not going to work. So don't waste your time copying and pasting from the document. It's not going to work, okay? Because what's going to happen, and the trap that students fall into, is if they quote from the documents, then they think that counts as their document. No, you don't have to put tape over your camera. You don't have to do that. Sorry. If you just quote from the document, okay, what's going to happen is you are going to think that counts as your document analysis, and then you're not going to do what you need to do. Okay. Instead of quoting from the document, use your own words and explain what the document says. If you do that, that shows the reader that you understand what the document is saying, and they will give you the point for the document analysis. Okay, that's super important. Okay, what a lot of readers have said over the years is that they've read very good essays where they think students know what they're talking about. They're well organized. It appears that the student knows what they're talking about, but instead of analyzing a document, the student simply quotes from it, and they can't give them that point. Don't fall into that trap, okay? Make sure that you are using your own words. Instead of quoting the document, just write a sentence or two that tells me what that quote means. Then you will get the point. I mean, assuming that you're right, you will get the point for the document analysis, okay? You're much better off that way. And then the fifth mistake, which most of you won't have to worry about tomorrow, the fifth mistake was make sure that your handwriting is legible. Now, the vast majority of you that I've spoken with plan to type your responses, so that's not even something to worry about. If you are going the handwritten route, where you're going to upload photos, which I don't recommend, by the way, but if you are doing that, please make sure that your handwriting is legible. Okay, and also make sure that you leave. Okay, so a question just came up. What if you explain the document in your own words, but you interpreted it wrong? Obviously, you're not going to get that point. That's what I was saying, that if you do it and you're right about what you say, you're going to get that point. If you just quote from the document, you're not going to get the point either. So you may as well try to explain what it means, and just make sure that you have interpreted right. Now, that's one of the downsides to the two document method, is that if you interpret one of the documents wrong, you're going to lose a lot of points, okay? Because there's not another document for you to fall back on. If you use 3 documents and you get one of the documents wrong, you can still earn all of the points because you've used the other 2 documents correctly, okay? So that is a downside to the 2 document method. But theoretically, you should be, going through the 5 documents, and you should be picking, if you're going to use only 2 of the documents, you should be picking 2 of them that you are pretty confident, if not completely confident, that you understand what it means. Don't pick a document that is confusing to you. Go through the 5 documents, and if you're going to use this method, pick the 2 documents that you are reasonably confident that you understand what it means, because you don't want to end up in a situation like Chloe said, where you are interpreting a document wrong. Okay. But so yes, still absolutely read through all 5 documents before you decide which of them you are going to use. And if you are going to use the 2 document method, do not use it until you have watched the video that we made about that particular strategy, because in that video, and it's posted on the Teams page, it's also on the YouTube channel. In that video, I walk you through step by step what the two document method is. So don't think that you're just gonna, don't think that you're not gonna bother with that video and just just use two of the documents. There's a very specific way to do it if you're going to opt for that strategy. And I highly, highly, highly encourage you to not use that strategy until you watch that video. Okay, and I'm not saying that just because I want to get extra views. Okay, it is, you won't do it right if you don't watch that video first. So watch the video to see exactly how to do it. All right, question that just popped up in the chat. So would that be for our evidence? And should we use all 5 documents? So yes, you are using the documents for part of your evidence. Okay, but then there's a separate section on the rubric for outside evidence. Outside evidence is for information that does not come from the documents, okay? Outside evidence is something completely separate. And so if you're confused about that, again, I would advise you, here, let me, in fact, really quickly pull up the rubric, because I would advise you, if you're confused about what the difference is between evidence from the documents and then outside evidence, I would advise you to go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So let me see if I can pull up the rubric really quickly. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys for a moment so that you can see what this outside evidence looks like. Okay, or so what the rubric looks like for evidence. So notice here in the evidence part of the rubric, right, you can earn anywhere from 0 to 5 points, okay? And then you will see how you earn those points. 1 point for using the content of at least 2 of the documents. 1 point for that evidence supporting the argument, okay? If you use evidence from 4 of the documents, you get a 3rd point. And then, Elias, to answer your earlier question, to get the remaining 2 evidence points, you have to find evidence that is not in one of the documents. Okay, evidence beyond the documents. If you're using the 2 document method, remember, you won't earn this 3rd point here. That's one of the 2 points that you're not even bothering with. Okay, okay, let's see. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch them all. Oh, lucky me. Can we call this multitasking? I went out for a jog and listened to Mr. Ehlers all at the same time. I need a congrats. Congratulations, Karina. I hope this was, I mean, this is not exactly the most exciting thing to be jogging to, but I hope that we kept you engaged. Okay, so do I have to use all 5 documents? No, you do not, okay? In fact, if you look at the evidence, here, you can see that if you look at the rubric for evidence, you have to use 4 of the 5 documents. This is similar to on the regular rubric, on the old rubric, you didn't have to use all 7 of the documents. You only had to use 6 out of the 7. Okay, just remember that I always encouraged you to use all 7 in case you interpreted one of them wrong. But again, if you're going to go for the 2 document method, watch the video. Okay, because there's a very specific way you have to do that and a very specific strategy to follow for that. Okay, so what are your other questions right now about writing this DBQ? Like I said, tomorrow, which is Wednesday, tomorrow I'm going to focus specifically on the evidence part of the document. Where are you putting the link? The link to what? I'm going to focus tomorrow on how to use evidence and how to get the evidence points, since that's 5 out of the 10 points. So we'll focus on that. Okay. Will the 2 documents method get you the same amount of points if done correctly? So I may as well just go pull up the PowerPoint really quickly. Let's just do this now because this is another question about this. All right. So you recall this is the PowerPoint right here. If you're using the 2 document strategy, okay, if you're going for the 2 document strategy, you can earn, as you can see, up to an 8 out of 10, okay? If you opt for the second strategy, which is not bothering with HIP, which means you're not bothering with sourcing, you can earn a 7 out of 10. Obviously, a perfect essay goes for a 10 out of 10. And so the thing with the 2-document strategy is you are not getting the point for using 4 of the 5 documents, and you're not getting the complexity point. Now, what I said last week is that nobody should bother with the complexity point. It is awarded in less than 1% of students anyway, so it is awarded very infrequently, okay? And it's just not something that in 45 minutes you should bother wasting your time with, okay? I just don't think that it is an effective use of your time. I'm not going to go through the 2-document method again, okay? Because again, we already did it. I don't want to waste everybody's time going through it again now. You can pull up the old video. How do you get from thesis statement to starting your body paragraphs? Okay, so you're just going to go from a thesis statement to a topic sentence. And again, I hate to say this, but we talked about what that looks like in a video from last week, how to go from your thesis statement to your topic sentence in your body paragraphs. And so I don't want to waste everybody's time again this morning. And so I would again advise you to go watch the videos from last week, where we do talk about how to do that. Okay, I want to say that was last Monday or Wednesday. I forget which day. But you know, all of the videos are posted on the YouTube channel. The link is all posted on the Teams page. And again, no, Jorge, I'm not saying this because I want more views, okay, and more likes. I'm saying this because there is useful and I think very helpful information there about how to do these things. What's the best way to integrate outside evidence? Again, same question, okay? That was addressed in those videos as well, okay? There even is a little graphic organizer that I posted that you can use as a way to, as you go through the documents, you can mark it off and you can list your outside evidence as you're reading through the documents, okay? No, the thesis is never preferred at the end, okay? The thesis statement should always be in your opening paragraph, because the thesis is it is your entire argument, okay? You are setting up, think of the thesis as your roadmap. You are telling me where the entire essay is going. If you put it at the end, that's completely useless, okay? The thesis should always be in the opening paragraph after the contextualization, okay? And then you go right into your body paragraphs. But the thesis, no, should never be at the end. I don't know who told you that it was preferred to be at the end, but that was not me. I would never, ever say that. Thesis is always at the beginning, okay? And it should always be in the introductory paragraph, okay? Other questions that people have, you can type them, you can unmute your mic.
Sir?
However you want. Yes, sir.
So what you said about looking stuff up, can I still do that for the AP Psych?
Yes, all of the AP exams are open book, okay? All of the AP exams are open book.
Right.
Again, though, it is a 45-minute exam, which means if you're wasting valuable time flipping through a textbook or looking things up online, you know, you are wasting time that should or could have been spent typing your response. So you are not going to get in trouble for looking things up, okay? In fact, it's pretty interesting. Let me see if I have it on my phone still, but Google ran a thing where they showed what the spike in internet searches was. Here we go. Okay, and so it's hard for you all to see this. Let me see if I can find a way to post this. But this is a graph that kind of shows during the AP European history exam, okay? Google noticed a spike in searches for the following terms during the time of the exam. People suddenly searched enlightenment at a much higher rate. They searched Napoleon at a much higher rate. They searched Reformation at a higher rate, and they searched French Revolution at a significantly higher rate. This was during the AP Euro exam. I don't know what their prompt was. I don't know what their topic was, but it obviously had something to do with those 4 things, because there was a huge spike. I will post the graph so that you can see it, because it's kind of funny. I will post the graph so that you can see it. So again, it's not against any rules. Okay, it's totally allowed. It's okay. You know, but it is certainly something that will happen. But I just think overall it's kind of a waste of your time. Okay, because there really isn't enough time for you to do that and to do it well. Okay. Do the YouTube thing where you put your hand behind your phone. I have no idea what that is. So I can't really do that. Who else has a question? That's a coincidence? Not really. There's a reason that searches for these things spiked during the test. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to be able to post it in just a second. Are there other questions that people have? All right, so let me pull up this spike to show you. Here we go. Oh, I have to share the screen first. Okay, yes, look up. There's like 3. There's like 3 what? Yes, I don't know what you're talking about. All right, here we go. Not that. No, here we go. All right, so take a look. If you can see this graph here, this is a spike in Google Trends searching for these 4 terms: Enlightenment, Napoleon, Reformation, French Revolution. Okay, look at that spike between 4 and 5 o'clock, which is when the AP Euro exam was at 4 p.m. that day. But you can see how searches for those 4 terms dramatically spiked. So yes, Google is okay. Lots of people will be using it. Okay. Oh, there's like 3 questions. Let's see. All right. I'm lost on. Do you think if you color coded stuff, it would be easier to get points? Certainly. So if you want to go through your notes with different color highlighters, and you want to highlight everything about the Silk Roads in one color and everything about Buddhism or whatever, yes. You know, I mean, how you organize your notes at the end of the day is really going to be what's going to work for you. Okay. Some people might think color coding it is going to be easier. Some people might think it's a good idea to do what I said with the index cards and write outside evidence for each topic on an index card. Okay, it's totally up to you. All right, I'm lost on context for the intro. How would we respond or write that? That's entirely going to depend, Elias, and for everybody, it's entirely going to depend on what the topic is. Okay, if the prompt is asking you about Silk Road's trade, okay, you are not going to use World War I as contextualization. Okay, you know, you're probably going to use something about the Middle Ages and maybe the Renaissance and talk about China being a world power. Okay, so what you use for your contextualization is entirely dependent on what the prompt is. Okay, one of the FRQs in the psych exam is only 15 minutes. Yeah, it's like a 15-minute one and then a 25-minute one or something, I think. From what we've written so far from the practices, is there anything you've noticed from our work that should be improved besides what you had said before? So generally speaking, the biggest thing that I think as a whole, now this is all 90 of you put together. This is not specific feedback for any one person or even any one class. This is a general statement. I think for the most part, the thing overall that you guys as a whole group could stand to do better with, some of you, many of you, it's your contextualization and your use of the evidence or your use of the analysis of the documents. Those are the 2 areas that I think we could improve upon the most. I think for the most part, you guys do a very good job with your thesis statements. And I think for the most part, you guys do a good job understanding of the document. So you do a good job getting that first point. It's that second point for analyzing of the documents that we could improve upon. Okay, no, like highlighted your DBQ. Okay, so if you're gonna highlight the DBQ for submission, I see what you're saying. Okay, you can do that, okay, but when you copy and paste it, it's not going to show up like that. It's just gonna show up in the document in plain text. So don't try to color code everything within the document and hope that that's how it's going to translate. It's going to show up as a plain text document. So I wouldn't waste your time, honestly, doing that, because that's going to take time choosing a different color for everything. In this case, I wouldn't waste time. Okay. Let's see. I've read them myself. He's a genius. You've read what, Jan? Don't forget to use the bathroom before the exam. Yes, that is a good piece of advice. No cap. I don't know what that means. Shower before the test. That's a personal choice. Let's see. Yep, Alejandro's gonna get a 5 because his DBQs are perfect. Okay. Let's see. Do we copy and paste within the last 5 minutes and turn it in, or do we have to wait? Okay, so you should copy and paste and be done as soon as you think you are done. Now, if you have only used 10 minutes and you still have 35 minutes left, don't go copying and pasting and press submit, okay? Because at that point, you are probably have not done what you need to do. So again, I would advise you wait until near the end of the exam, okay? But don't wait until the very end. Wait until that timer turns red. That timer is going to turn red when you have 5 minutes left. That should be your warning that it's time to wrap up and it's time to copy and paste and it's time to press submit, okay? That's when you should do that. Do not wait until there's 30 seconds left and think that you're going to be able to get the test submitted, okay? Even if you're copying and pasting, okay, you want to make sure that you are leaving time. You want to make sure that you are leaving time to get the submission through, okay? So don't wait. How long will it take for the test to submit? That's a great question. I've seen people who've pressed submit and then a second later it is said, thank you very much, your exam has been submitted. And then I've seen for some people that thing just keeps spinning and spinning for like a minute or two. So it really depends. What we have noticed as a general trend, and this is nationwide, is that the copy and paste method has worked almost perfectly. The people that have had trouble with their submissions are the people who are uploading photos or who are attaching a document. Okay, that's where the trouble has come into play. If you're copying and pasting, by all accounts and by everything that I have seen, is that it goes through very, very quickly, okay? Make sure once you press submit and it starts spinning, make sure you don't refresh that screen. Do not hit the back button, okay? Let it go through. Even if you start to get nervous that it's taking a little while, just let it go through. Because if you hit the back button, it's gonna log you out and you're gonna run into all kinds of problems. Okay, and then on Wednesday, I will show you what the email method looks like that they've set up. I will show you what that looks like so that you can know that that is a possibility if you're running out of time, or if you run out of time, or if it doesn't submit. Okay, I will show you how to send them an email with your exam on it. Okay, I saw a guy that had 3 minutes left and he was trying to submit since then, and then after the timer stopped, it said they hadn't received anything from him. I honestly would have cried. Yeah, so I don't know that video, and I'm sure it's floating around the internet, but I would say, again, from what I have seen, the people that are copying and pasting are not running into problems. So I would continue to advise you to opt for the copy and paste method, not the photo method, not the attachment method. Okay, and then I will show you on Wednesday what you can do to submit an email immediately after the test ends if if your submission does not go through. Okay, so I will show that to you on Wednesday. Okay, you can tell Bella that I said hi too. Okay, are there any other questions for us today? Okay, so we will come back on Wednesday. I'll talk about how to use evidence on Wednesday. Okay, I will show you what that email submission looks like. And then there was one other thing I said I would do on Wednesday that I'll walk you through. Wednesday, of course, is tomorrow. So I will be back on here tomorrow and I'll walk you through those things tomorrow. Okay, in the meantime, between now and tomorrow morning, make sure you check your email. Make sure that you've all gotten that ticket, okay? Make sure that you have an e-ticket for your AP World exam. Remember that you get a separate ticket for every AP exam that you have, okay? And yes, those of you who are taking AP Psych at 1:30 this afternoon, I wish you all the best of luck. I will be thinking about you. Do your best. Okay, and I will see you all tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock again. Make sure, yes, that you like, share, subscribe, tap that, that bell button. And then as Jan likes to say, the road to 1 million starts today. All right, have a great day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Again, good luck on your AP Psych exam. Those of you that are taking it, I believe in you. I will see you all later. Bye, guys.
Bye.